Hey mamas, I know firsthand how hard it can be to try to balance or juggle home, family, work, and personal interests. Sometimes seems like everything comes before personal interest, and sometimes that is the case. But if that's not the case, like if you do have time to fit it in, you just don't know where to start, or you're using a lot of your time on social media instead of like pouring into yourself, like personal interests to keep you excited and things of that nature, let's talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about finding a hobby, lessening our time on things that don't matter and important to ourselves. Hobbies are not just fun activities. It's a way for us to relax. It's a way for us to reduce stress and anxiety. It's a way for us to work on personal growth, feeling accomplished. It helps with mental health, and it's a positive way to impact our children. So by our children watching us, they'll be intrigued to either learn the skill, learn the hobby, or also be encouraged to pursue their own hobbies. So it's very, very important. I want to talk about the importance of hobbies, how to find one, give you a list of ideas to kind of like try out if you don't know where to get started or what's considered a hobby, as well as just a little bit of motivation, just a little bit of motivation. If you're new here, I'm Shadiamond, stay-at-home mom to a 5, 7, and 2-year-old, and I've been a stay-at-home mom since the beginning, right? So for 7 years, I've been a stay-at-home mom, and I feel like throughout my phase of motherhood, I have had quite a few hobbies that have varied depending on the season of motherhood that I was in. So when I had infants, my hobbies were different as opposed to the toddler years. Now that they're getting older, I am starting to pursue an older hobby that I had a while ago that I really, really enjoyed. So it's amazing. I highly encourage, if you think you're consuming too much social media, or if you think you're comparing yourself, or you're not content, or you're feeling like I'm not able to do things anymore for myself, or I'm not using my brain enough, whatever the case may be, like the hobbies. Get a hobby. Put the phone down and get a hobby. So first I'm going to say, okay, a hobby. Let me look up my laptop for a definition. What's considered a hobby? A hobby is defined as an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. So it's something you do in your pastime. And I know as a mom of 3, as a wife of mom of 3, sometimes that pastime is not it's not a thing, right? But when we do have a small window of time, or whether you wake up early or after everyone go to bed or whatever the case may be, you kind of want something that you could do in your leisure time. So that's what a hobby is considered. Now, I have a list of hobbies, but I kind of want to say, I don't want to give that list first. I kind of want you to think about what is something that you have as a hobby. What's something you did as a hobby as a child, and things of that nature. So if you don't know where to start with finding a hobby, straight on backwards, but it don't even matter. So if you don't know where to start with a hobby, I would say ask yourself these questions. What is something I was interested or good at as a child? What is something that I'm interested in learning? What is something that I can do around the home that can make, that can give a transformation, that can make it more beautiful? What are some things that I want to learn about? So those are a few questions to ask yourself if you don't currently have a hobby. Because it's kind of like, everyone's hobby is different. Most hobbies doesn't require a lot of time or money. But some are, a little pricey as you start to get more into learning about it and get more experience. So we want to start small first. We want to start small to make sure that we have the amount of time and the money to start that hobby. And some things, of course, can be free. So I'm going to share a list with you of different hobbies that you can probably start with. I kind of have these in categories of like arts and crafts, outdoor, educational, relaxing, active hobbies, but they're probably going to be a mix of whatever pops up when I'm saying it. So once I give the list, I'll share my personal hobbies, and then just kind of like, give you a little bit of my experience of having hobbies. So let's start the list off. The first thing I have on my list is like creative hobbies. That includes arts and crafts, writings, and things of that nature. So I have things like painting, drawing, journaling, blogging, starting your own YouTube channel, getting into photography, getting into video editing, things of that nature. That falls into the creative aspect, I would say. The next thing I have are active hobbies. So this can include running, yoga, jump roping, which is something I recently started doing, or anything that involves a lot of movement, you know. Also, outdoors, you can do things like gardening. I don't think the categories are going to work. Other hobbies include puzzles, right? Jigsaw puzzles, Sudoku puzzles, which reminds me of my grandma, and I can definitely see why she really enjoys stuff like that. Also, photography, candle making. Some of my personal favorites include cooking and baking and testing out new recipes. You can even get into DIY projects. Transform things around your home, you know, making things from old clothing. DIY projects are super fun. I used to be a DIY mama, but I'm not so much right now in this phase of motherhood. But those are a few hobbies. I looked at quite a few articles and there are so many hobbies that you can try. Bird watching, let's see, creating a nature journal, learning to make things from scratch, joining or starting a book club. I don't know why I didn't say reading. Like, reading is like one of the biggest hobbies I see a lot of moms do. I've even seen moms, you know, create a whole vibe, like a whole room full of books, and that's their space where they go in and read their books, you know, and do things like that. But I think it's so important to, you know, start with your own interests, right? And how it fits into your schedule. Whether you have to wake up a little early to get started or go to bed a little late, right? Use those nap times to do whatever you want to do. Like, it's super important. So those are a few ideas I have for hobbies. Now, let me just share a few of my own personal hobbies. So when I first became a mom, my first few years was the transition. Let's just say that. So when I first became a mom, a lot of things were new to me. I was in college full time, I was a new wife, I was breastfeeding for the first time, and it was a lot of new things. And so at the time, I also dealt with pregnancy brain or mommy brain, so I had a hard time remembering things, you know, so it affected me in school, and I kind of felt, you know, stressed about it because, like, how do I go from making A's and B's to not being able to remember anything that I heard in class without writing it down? So it you know, it really affected me, and it eventually led for me taking semesters off from school. But during that time, I picked up on sewing. I didn't have any interest in sewing before that, but because I didn't like take home economics, I wasn't really exposed to any of that before becoming a mom because I was in other activities in high school like band and, you know, different organizations, academic organizations, and in sports. Like, I was a cheerleader, so I didn't really have a lot of time to explore in schools with like a lot of hands-on things or using my hands a lot or being creative. So once I picked up on sewing, I was like, now this is machine sewing, not sewing like with hand sewing, machine sewing. It was so soothing to me, which was kind of weird, you know, when I thought about it, but I was like, this is something that I could do every single day. During that trying period of adjusting to my new roles and trying to figure out like how I can get myself together, how am I going to start remembering things and things of that nature, like I really honed in on sewing, and I love sewing so much to the point where I started to look into what's next, you know. So I also got into machine embroidery. I was practicing on making my daughter clothing, so I started making her skirts and I made her a blanket, and I started putting her name on everything. Like, it was a good little phase. So I may put some pictures on the screen, you know, if I have a little extra time to edit, but it was a good little phase. And then so I felt like once I got from, you know, sewing to machine embroidery, it eventually turned into a business unknowingly, and I eventually got burned out from it because I did it so much and I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. I was doing it because I had the obligation to fulfill orders and stuff like that, and it just didn't become fun anymore. So once I got done with the sewing and embroidery phase, and I stopped it for business, I just stopped it altogether. You would not find me just sewing in my leisure time anymore. I don't know why. It's been a few years. I want to start back doing it, but I did it so much to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. So that was my first hobby that I discovered as a mom. Then from sewing and embroidery, I got into nutrition. I got into baking, you know, healthy muffins. I got into doing the fruit juices. I got into testing out different smoothies and things of that nature, because another interest of mine was healthy eating, you know, healthy living. Wanted to give my child the best, you know, wanting to avoid processed foods in the stores, like the little Debbie cakes and the little muffins in the pouches and stuff like that. Like, I didn't really want my child to consume any of those things. So I really just went all in, you know, just discovering things, and I realized that I really enjoy baking. And this was around, you know, the pandemic, where it was like a lot of people were in their homes, and, you know, we had a whole lot of time. And so I was still in school at the time, but I really enjoyed baking muffins. So I tried every little muffin you could think of, you know, from the sweet potato to the chocolate to the blueberry to the lemon to the carrot to zucchini to morning glory, strawberry, like lemon poppy seed. Like, I've made so many different kind of muffins, and it all was just so soothing to me, you know, starting from different ingredients and then ending up with a product that tastes amazing. And so at the time, I was sharing with other people, having people try out the muffins and stuff like that. For me, I need some measurements. So I started off looking online at different recipes and stuff like that, and just trying different things out. I tried to start like looking at healthy alternatives to the flours that we were using. So and stuff like that. So I did a whole lot of muffins. I did a whole lot of like pancakes, like sweet potato pancake. This is kind of like the same muffins that I made. I kind of make these pancakes sometimes in a similar manner. And so I didn't really get into cookies at the time, because I was like, I still want to be, watching out how much sugar I consume, but I do enjoy a nice fluffy muffin. So that was my next hobby that I did for a few years. And once I noticed that one of my girls was breaking out, we ended up switching to, or having stomach issues, we ended up switching to gluten-free, which kind of like killed my baking hobby, because you know, it's not just a easy substitution to do gluten-free, from regular eating to gluten-free. You know, wheat is fluffy, and gluten-free flour is usually on the dense side. And so the muffins that I once loved, I didn't like anymore because they didn't come out right. And so I just gave it up for a while until I learned the tips and tricks for gluten-free baking, right? I learned the alternatives to use, you know, how to get it fluffy, what's the best brand of flours, and, you know, all of the substitutions I had to make. And so, yeah, left the baking phase, and then I got into putting the sewing machine or embroidery machine down, put that down for a while. Then I got into the Brother Scan and Cut. I'm looking at it. That's what I'm looking away. The Brother Scan and Cut and the Cricut. So I got into just doing personalized things for my kids again. I started to make things that we can hang up in the house. I started to cut out them different, you know, shapes and stuff for learning activities. And I will say, just the learning phase in general, just teaching my children in the very beginning was a hobby as well. I used to go in the store and find different toys, you know, on sale. I used to find different activities that I would put together and share online. So I feel like when I was doing like the Cricut machine and the Brother Scan and Cut, I was also doing and sharing, I guess, building a blog. I was sharing learning activities, learning tips, where to shop at to get the best deals and things of the nature. So I guess that's considered like a blog. I started an Instagram for that. And so from there, I'm like, you know what? I'm not in that phase anymore. I'm more so, I want to do something else. And so then I started my YouTube channel, which I've been doing for about 2 years now. And I started the YouTube channel because I wanted to, for one, help people. I wanted to share my journey. I also wanted to grow on camera. You know, I feel like making videos, you hear how you sound, you see what you act like, you see your mannerism, your facial expressions, and you also, you know, you have to be interested in editing a little bit. So, YouTube channel, which I still enjoy. I feel like in the beginning though, I had a lot more time to sit and do it. Now that my children are older and they require more, you know, and I do homeschool, I feel like I don't really have a lot of time to just, hey, let me go make some videos today. I don't have that time anymore. So a lot of my videos may seem rushed, but that's what it is. And now that we've moved into our new home, I feel like I'm getting back into the baking hobby and trying out new recipes, and getting into like learning more about home decor, like how do you style your home and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at now. So I've gone through a lot of different phases of, you know, hobbies, I feel like, but I didn't really have a lot of things that I enjoyed like growing up. I didn't really do a lot of, you know, cooking or anything that I do now. I didn't really have a lot of that growing up. I don't even know what I enjoyed growing up, honestly, that I could still do now. I really don't know. I didn't really read a lot of books like that for leisure. I didn't really cook from scratch from leisure. Yeah, I don't know. So my hobbies had to come from me just literally like exploring, trying something out and see what works. You know, trying something out and see if I like it. So I do like the creative hobbies. I like crafting. I like using my hands. I like baking. And yeah, so one other thing that I recently got into was jump roping. So I would say it's a hobby. I was doing it every day for a few weeks until the temperature dropped. But I want to get into just being more active. That can be considered a hobby. Some people do it, you know, daily, and that's your thing that gets you going. But yeah, make your hobby yours. When you pursue hobbies though, it takes up your time, so you can spend less time on social media, less time comparing, less time, you know, I guess feeling like you're not good enough or that you're not doing enough or whatever the case may be. Like I would say, put that same energy to something that's beneficial. Put that same energy in something that's going to change the dynamic of your home. The way you are, your mindset, your energy, and things of that nature is going to really set the house up. You know, if you're happy, everyone else probably is going to be happy. Like I bet you, if you're sad, you're moody, you don't want to deal with people, that's going to affect everyone in the home. So hopefully this was helpful in terms of just giving you a little motivation to pursue a hobby. As always, I would say start small. You know how much you can spend, you know your budget. Start with the free things. I also have been collecting art supplies that I've had now for at least a year and a half, where I have sketchbooks and just markers and stuff, and sketch pads and stuff like that. So eventually I feel like I'll start trying to draw a little bit. There are free YouTube channels that offer drawing lessons, or painting, or whatever the case may be. Just using what you have, you know, it's very, very beneficial. And for the hobbies that you really enjoy and you want to occasionally sell something, I would say that's very beneficial. Like it'll be a way for you to bring in income, but if you do it too much, you're just gonna burn out and it's no longer gonna be a hobby. So make sure the hobby is for you, to make sure you're relaxed, to make sure you're feeling fulfilled in the little bit area of, like, I had 30 minutes today and I was able to make a recipe from scratch. I had 30 minutes today and I was able to read 5 chapters in a book. It doesn't really take much, and you know you. So hopefully this video was beneficial. Let me know what habits you have tried, some you're considering trying, or whether I said something that was, you know, beneficial to you, something that you can think about. I want these videos to be very helpful. I do want to hear feedback in the comment section, so yeah, just let me know. If you're not subscribed, do subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video.